I never meant to tell this story not like this, not tonight. Not with my voice shaking and my heart refusing to settle, but something inside me broke the moment. My mother smiled across the Thanksgiving table and said, with that same softness that always made me feel small, your sister's wedding was great. When's yours? And before I could stop myself, I whispered back, had mine. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that feels like a knife pressed gently against your skin, waiting to see if you'll bleed. Before I begin, if you've ever been betrayed, I hope you stay with me till the end. And please like and subscribe. Your support truly means more than you know. I guess this story doesn't start at Thanksgiving. It starts long before years before, when I first realized I wasn't the daughter my mother wanted. My sister, Leela, was the favorite, the golden one, the girl with the soft curls and the dimpled smile, the one who lit up a room simply by entering it. She was born glowing, it seemed, and I arrived a little dimmer, a little quieter, a little less. Everything. Growing up, favoritism wasn't loud. In our house, it was quiet. It lived in small things. Who got the bigger piece of cake? Who was allowed to talk during dinner? Who received the soft hands, the gentle tones, the patient explanations? Who received love? Without earning it, Leela never had to work for it. I spent my childhood trying, when boys came knocking for her in high school. It became even clearer. Your sister deserves someone who will take care of her. My mother would sigh, smoothing Lila's hair like she was porcelain. Then her eyes would slide to me and the warmth would die. You need to be careful. Don't bring home someone who'll end up being a burden. I didn't know then that those words would carve themselves into me, or that the day would come when I'd fall in love with a man she would label as exactly that, a burden. His name was Eli, the first poor man I ever loved, the first man I ever trusted, the only man who never made me feel hard to love. We met at the community library where I volunteered on weekends. He used to sit by the window reading second-hand books with worn edges books. He handled like something sacred. He had gentle eyes and the kind of smile that made you feel seen, really seen. In a way my family never managed. The first time he spoke to me, I dropped a stack of books because I wasn't used to a man looking at me like I was worth looking at. He apologized, as if he had dropped them. That's who he was. He came from a poor background, mother working 2 jobs, father who disappeared when he was young. He worked nights, studied days, wore clothes he patched himself. But to me, he was rich in every way that mattered. When he asked me to marry him, it wasn't with a ring from a jewelry store. It was with a thin silver band he found at a flea market, cleaned until it shone, and held with trembling fingers as if he feared I'd say no. I didn't. I said yes with a certainty I never had before, but when I told my mother about him, just about him, not the ring, not the proposal, her reaction shattered something deep inside me. She didn't yell. She never yelled. She simply folded her arms, leaned back, and said the 6 words I will never forget: "He's not good enough for you." I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought it was a joke. But her face didn't soften. Sweetheart, she touched my sleeve like she owned me. You can do better. Look at his circumstances. Look at yours. Marriage is not charity. It took everything inside me not to scream when I refused to leave him. She escalated, not by fighting, but by withdrawing her love like a punishment. Cold shoulders, short answers, a look of disappointment whenever I walked into a room, and then there was Leela. Oh my God, you're dating that guy from the library? Mom's right. You can't marry down like that. Marry down as if a man's wallet mattered more than my happiness. As if wealth guaranteed kindness. Leela was already engaged at the time to a banker named Thomas. My mother adored him. She bragged about him more than she'd ever bragged about me. He bought expensive wine for family dinners and complimented my mother's cooking. He had the right background, the right salary, the right polish, but he didn't have a heart like Ellie's, not even close. And then something happened, something quiet. But sharp that changed everything. A week before my sister's wedding announcement, I overheard my mother whispering on the phone with an aunt. Well, at least Leela didn't choose like her sister. Imagine bringing a man like that into our family. A poor boy with nothing to offer. We'd be embarrassed. Thank God she has better judgment. Something cracked inside me that night. Something I had been patching for years. I stopped trying to win her approval. Stopped trying to be the daughter she wanted, and 2 months later, I married Eli in a small courthouse with one witness, a kind elderly woman, who cried the moment she saw us whisper our vows. My wedding wasn't big. It wasn't loud. It wasn't glamorous. But it was real, authentic. Ours. We didn't tell my family. Not because I wanted to hide it, but because I already knew what their reaction would be. And then life moved on quietly. Lila's wedding happened. Huge, lavish, pictures plastered across social media. I wasn't invited. My mother said I wasn't in the right mindset to attend. That I should reflect on my choices instead. I didn't cry, not then. Not even once, but something inside me whispered, remember this, remember who celebrated you. And who did in single quotes T. Fast forward to Thanksgiving. I sat at the table across from my mother, the same table where for years I had pretended to belong. Leela arrived glowing, wearing a diamond bracelet Thomas bought her. She hugged everyone except me. Dinner was polite. Too polite. The kind that hides rot underneath. Then midway through slicing the turkey, my mother casually said, your sister's wedding was great. When's yours? She didn't know. They didn't know. No one knew. I felt Ellie's ring on my finger, a thin band of silver that held more love than everyone at the table. Combined something inside me rose to the surface. Not anger. Not pride. Just truth. I had mine, I whispered. Forks dropped. Eyes widened. Leela blinked like she misheard. My mother's smile froze, then dropped off her face entirely. What did you just say? And I lifted my hand quietly, gently, and placed my wedding ring on the table. Their expressions shifted through disbelief, confusion, and then horror. The horror of not knowing. The horror of being shut out. The horror of losing control over me. My mother opened her mouth. But before she spoke, before she could unleash the storm, something happened. A sound came from the entry hallway, a slow creak. Footsteps. Familiar footsteps. That didn't belong to anyone in my family. And then he appeared. Eli. Standing in the doorway. And the room erupted into shock so loud it felt like the air itself cracked. I wish I could tell you I stayed calm when Eli stepped into that dining room, when his shadow crossed the old hardwood floor like a secret finally coming home. But the truth is, my breath caught, my heart stumbled, not out of fear, but because in that single moment, everything I had been hiding, everything I thought I was ready to reveal, suddenly felt terrifyingly real. And you know what's strange? My mother didn't say a word. No one did. The silence in that room felt heavier than every memory I'd buried. Every moment I spent trying to earn love that was never freely given. And that silence is what forced me to tell you the rest. Before I begin, if you've ever been betrayed, I hope you stay with me till the end. And please like and subscribe. Your support truly means more than you know. The truth is, I never planned for Eli to walk in that night. He wasn't supposed to be there. He had dropped me off at my parents' house hours earlier, kissed my forehead, and whispered, you don't have to prove anything to them. You're enough. But part of me wanted him to come. Part of me wanted him to finally see the people who shaped the hollow spaces inside me. Yet I never asked, and still, he came. He stepped into the dining room with that gentle confidence I always admired. His posture straight, his hands calm. His eyes soft but alert, as if he expected to defend me at any moment. My mother blinked at him, her fork suspended midair. Who, she whispered, is that? The tone was one I knew well. Not curiosity, contempt. This is my husband, I said. The words sliced the air open. Leela slapped a hand over her mouth like she was watching a scandal unfold at a neighbor's house. Thomas frowned, trying to piece everything together. My father looked down at his napkin, as if hoping the truth would fold itself neatly away. My mother's chair scraped harshly as she stood. "Husband?" She wasn't yelling, but the quiet sharpness of her voice stung more than any scream. Eli stepped forward and extended his hand politely. "It's nice to meet you." Mrs. Hale, she didn't take it. Instead, her eyes scanned him slowly, cruelly taking inventory of his worn jacket, his slightly scuffed shoes, the cheap but carefully cleaned watch he always wore. And then she looked at me, as if I had committed a crime against the family name. "What have you done?" She whispered. "It's strange how those four words can unravel years of strength. Because in that moment, I wasn't a married woman standing beside the love of her life. I was the child who had always disappointed her, the daughter who was never enough, the girl who learned early that love from her mother always came with conditions." Eli must have sensed it. He stepped closer to me, his hand brushing mine under the tablecloth where no one could see. It grounded me. "I married the man I love," I said softly. My mother's lips tightened. "The man you love," she repeated, her voice trembling with disbelief. "You married him without telling your family?" I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I wanted to remind her of every time she dismissed him without even knowing him. Instead, I said, "You never asked." That struck her harder than anything else could. "We are your family," she gasped. "Are you?" My voice cracked, but I didn't look away. "Because I don't remember feeling like your daughter for a very long time," Leela scoffed, rolling her eyes like she was still 16. "Oh, please, don't act like some victim. You shut us out." "No," I breathed. "You shut me out. You made me feel like I didn't belong unless I lived by your rules." My mother's face twisted. "You chose wrong. You chose down. He will drag you down with him." Ellie's hand stiffened against mine, but he didn't speak. He didn't defend himself. He didn't fight back. That's who he was, a man who didn't need to raise his voice to have strength. But something inside me snapped. "Mom," I said quietly, "happiness isn't measured in money." Her eyes narrowed. "In the real world, it is." My heart sank, because that sentence that brutal. Small sentence is exactly why I stopped trying to fit into her mold. And now, here she was, proving she hadn't changed at all. Dinner was forgotten. Plates of turkey and mashed potatoes sat untouched as the air thickened with judgment. Leela crossed her arms. "So, what now? You think showing up with him will make us accept this mistake? You embarrassed our family." "I embarrassed no one," I whispered, but she wasn't listening. "She never did. You didn't tell us about the engagement. You didn't invite us to the wedding. You didn't even give Mom a chance to approve." I let out a soft, humorless breath. "And you think that's why I kept it a secret?" Eli tried to speak, then tried to explain himself, but my father cut him off with a raised hand. "We have expectations for our daughters," Dad muttered. "We wanted better for her." "Better?" Eli finally said. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't glare. He just looked at them with an expression so steady it made the room falter. "I may not come from money, but I love your daughter more than anything in this world. I work hard. I treat her well. I would give my life for her. If that isn't good enough for you, then you have the wrong definition of better." His words simple, honest, unpolished, shattered me. My mother stared at him like he was speaking a language she'd never heard. "Love doesn't pay bills," she murmured. "No," Eli agreed. "But respect does. Partnership does. Commitment does. And your daughter has all of that with me." A quiet, aching pause filled the room. Then my mother turned to me with cold eyes. "If you walk out with him," she said, "you are choosing poverty. You are choosing struggle. You are choosing a lifetime of hardship." "No," I whispered. "I'm choosing a lifetime of peace." That silence again. But this time, it wasn't from shock. It was from truth settling like dust. And then something shifted, something I didn't expect. My father's voice, low, strained, "You should go." It didn't hit me like a slap. It hit me like abandonment, heavy and slow and suffocating. Ellie's hand found mine instantly. He squeezed once. A promise. A question. A lifeline. Leela stepped back with a smirk, as if this outcome satisfied something dark inside her. And my mother? She didn't reach for me. She didn't stop me. She didn't even whisper my name. She just stared at me with a kind of disappointment that I had spent my life trying to avoid. And suddenly, I was tired of being half-loved. Tired of shrinking myself to fit their approval. Tired of begging for validation from people who never saw me. I straightened myself, took a breath that felt like breaking free, and whispered the final words they would hear from me that night, I hope one day. "You realize what you lost." Eli opened the door for me. The cold night air hit my skin like a baptism, but just as I stepped outside, just as I crossed the threshold that separated my past from my future, my mother's voice trembled behind me, "You'll come back." "You always do." I didn't turn around, but if I had seen her eyes in that moment, maybe I would have noticed the fear hiding behind her arrogance. The fear of losing control. The fear of losing me, and maybe, just maybe, I would have noticed Lila's expression too. Not angry, not smug, panicked, because she knew something I didn't, something she had been hiding, something that was about to unravel everything I thought I knew, and I wouldn't discover it until much, much later, before I begin. If you've ever been betrayed, I hope you stay with me till the end. And please like and subscribe. Your support truly means more than you know. I woke up to my phone vibrating relentlessly on the nightstand. 20 missed calls from my mother, 6 from my father, 3 from Leela. I didn't answer any of them. I told myself it was just another storm of disappointment. Another attempt to reel me back into the cycle I had finally broken free from. But then a message appeared, just one line from my father. "You need to come, nothing more. Nothing less, and a part of me. Still the wounded daughter." Couldn't ignore it. Eli insisted on going with me, but I told him I needed to face this alone. He didn't argue. He just kissed my forehead, held my face gently, and whispered, "Don't let them dim your light again." I held onto those words like armor as I walked into my parents' house later that morning. The moment I stepped in, I knew something was wrong. My mother wasn't composed. She wasn't cold. She wasn't angry. She was sitting on the couch, crying. And Leela, she wasn't smirking. She wasn't scoffing. She wasn't even looking at me. She was pacing, clutching her phone like it was burning her hand. "What's going on?" I asked. My father handed me an envelope. Not a bill. Not a letter. A printed email. From Thomas. My sister's perfect husband. The golden boy my mother adored. I scanned the first lines and my stomach dropped. "Leela, I can't keep lying. I can't pretend anymore. I'm in love with someone else. I've been seeing her for months," the email continued. Paragraph after paragraph. A confession. A goodbye. A betrayal so sharp it felt like glass. Leela crumpled on the floor in sobs. My mother clutched her chest like the shame alone was going to kill her. "He left me," Leela cried. "He left me for someone else. After everything. He left." For a moment, I just stood there. And then it hit me. The panic on her face at Thanksgiving. The tension when she learned I was married. The strange fear in her eyes when she watched me walk away. She wasn't reacting to my secret marriage. She was terrified of something else breaking apart. Terrified of something she couldn't control, and now, that something had finally shattered. My mother lifted her red, swollen eyes to me. "It's your fault." I let out a soft, stunned laugh. "My fault, how?" "You abandoned this family," she whispered through tears. "You set a bad example, you. You made choices without us. You married someone without our approval. And now look, everything is falling apart." There it was. The truth of her world. A world where my independence was rebellion. Where my happiness was betrayal. where my refusal to obey was a wildfire that burned through her carefully curated image. And in that moment, I understood something I should have realized years ago. My mother didn't love me conditionally because I was flawed. She loved me conditionally because she was. Her love depended on control, on obedience, on appearances, and I had ruined her illusion by choosing my own life. I knelt beside Leela. She didn't look at me. She was shaking. "I'm sorry," I whispered, not because I owed her an apology, but because I knew her pain. I had carried it silently for years. She finally looked up. Tears streamed down her face. "You left me," she choked out, "and for the first time in years." She sounded like the sister I grew up with, the one who used to braid my hair and sneak snacks into my room at night. "I didn't leave you," I said gently. "I left the version of this family that didn't want me unless I obeyed." Her face crumpled. She folded into me, sobbing into my shoulder, and I held her. I held the sister who once helped bury my childhood secrets. I held the girl who had grown up learning the same toxic rules I did. The girl who had simply learned to follow them better. My mother stared at us, her grief turning to something almost feral. "You think you're above us now," she whispered. "Just because you married that boy, that man," I corrected softly. "And no, I don't think I'm above you. I just think." I finally chose myself. My father let out a long, weary sigh. It wasn't anger. It wasn't disappointment. It was something closer to surrender. "You should go home," he said quietly. "There's nothing more you can do here." He was right. There was nothing more I could do. Because their chaos wasn't mine anymore. Their expectations weren't mine anymore. Their version of love wasn't mine anymore. I stood, gently untangling myself from Lila's arms. She reached for me weakly, but I kissed her forehead and whispered, "I'll answer your calls. I just won't lose myself again." Then I walked out of the house, out of their judgment, out of the cycle I had been drowning in for most of my life. When I stepped outside, the cold air hit me like a truth I should have known all along. Some people heal by holding on. Others heal by letting go. I didn't look back. Not once. Eli was waiting in the car, watching me with quiet concern. When I opened the door, he reached out and took my hand without asking a single question. I think he knew. He always knew. "Are you okay?" he whispered. I nodded. Not because I was healed, but because I had finally chosen the path that would lead me there. "We'll build a life," he said softly. "One that feels like love, not like punishment." I leaned into his shoulder, and for the first time in my life, I believed it.